So now we will move on the talk of Fabrizio Dell'Anna, who is coming from the University of Veracruz in Mexico. And we will talk about grooming reciprocity in Geoffroy spider's monkey, partner control versus partner choice. And I will actually share his pre-recorded video right now. So we are just waiting for him to arrive. And
hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yeah, we can.
Good afternoon, everybody.
So you can, I will start your video.
Okay, thank you. Should I keep the video on, or you prefer without?
No, you can keep the video on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. And today I'm gonna present a project about grooming reciprocity in Geoffroy spider monkeys, partner control versus partner choice. So if we're talking about reciprocity, of course, we're talking about cooperative behaviors, which are those behaviors that provide a benefit to other individuals and whose evolution has been dependent on their beneficial effect for the recipient. And of course, they may imply a lifetime fitness costs or benefits for the actor. And in reciprocal exchanges, individuals exchange those cooperative behaviors, for example, grooming or agonistic support, over time, and once they act as donor and later as a receiver in such exchange. There are two models of reciprocity. The first one is partner control, which considers only isolated diets, and these two individuals, they may or may not exchange cooperative behaviors between themselves. And the only possible options for the former receiver are to reciprocate the cooperative act or decide to not reciprocate it. Of course, this model does not really resemble natural condition in which social animals live. And another model is called partner choice instead, where individuals can interact with different partners, and of course they can outbid each other by being more cooperative or reciprocating more. And of course, this model resembles natural condition in which social animals like primates live. In order to demonstrate the occurrence of reciprocity, researchers have focused on finding a temporal contingency between a cooperative act and its reciprocation, and specifically finding a short-term temporal contingency was evidence of partner control models of reciprocity. Nonetheless, when this short-term temporal contingency was not found, there was anyway a balance between cooperative behaviors given and received were found on the long time frames as evidence of partner choice models of reciprocity. Of course, these two models are not mutually exclusive. Depending on the context and the conditions, they can be present in the same species, of course, at the same time. My focus species is the Geoffroy spider monkeys, Ateles geoffroyi, and the social system is remarkably similar to old world apes and humans. They present a high degree of fission-fusion dynamics, and of course they live in multi-male, multi-female groups. There is mixed evidence about reciprocity in spider monkeys. Grooming and embraces are reciprocated between males, following a partner choice models of reciprocity, and experimental studies did not show any evidence for reciprocity, specifically partner control reciprocity. My study area was the Otoch Ma'ax Yetel Kooh protected area in the Yucatan Peninsula near the village of Punta Laguna in Mexico. And the group that I observed was comprised between 44 and 54 individuals, depending on death, births, and immigrations. And data collection was performed by doing 10 minutes continuous focal samples of adult and subadult individuals. So this was done by 2 observers. And subgroup composition, so the monkeys that were present in the subgroup at the moment of the focal observation was continuously updated thanks to local assistants and research assistants. And of course, all occurrences of fission and fusion events were recorded. The target behavior in this case was of course grooming. So when a grooming interaction was observed between 2 adult or subadult individuals, the focal sample was extended by 10 minutes, and after the end of the first grooming interaction, the post-grooming focal sample started. This was done so I could observe what happened after the first grooming interaction. The total focal samples collected total number of focal samples collected was 2,129, and data analysis was performed in R using RStudio, and these are the packages that were used for survival analysis and model diagnostic and generalized mixed models. So the first hypothesis and the first prediction regards, of course, pattern control reciprocity. And the hypothesis states that grooming reciprocity based on pattern control occurs in spider monkeys and is limited to a relatively short time frame, for example, a few minutes. So receiving grooming increases the probability of returning grooming to the same partner, but only within a time window of a few minutes. And the second hypothesis states that grooming reciprocity based on partner choice instead occurs in spider monkeys. And after excluding all grooming episodes that were reciprocated within the time window identified in the previous analysis, spider monkeys groom more those individuals from which they received more grooming during the entire study period. Regarding the first hypothesis and first prediction, I used survival analysis to test this prediction, and I compared using a log-rank test 2 conditions, post-grooming and a matched control condition. And the time window of immediate reciprocation was inferred by using timetables and identified by the time when 95% of the confidence interval of smoothed hazard rates of post-grooming samples and match control samples overlap. And the idea of the individual that was performing the grooming was added as a shared Freity variable in the model, which is akin to a random factor in generalized linear mixed models. And so I compared the time elapsed between a grooming event and its reciprocation. So for example, the time between A grooming B and then the time after B groomed back A, and the time elapsed between the control point and the occurrence of a grooming event in which individual B groomed individual A. And for the second hypothesis regarding partner choice, I used the generalized linear mixed models using a within subject analysis. So my dependent variable were A to B grooming score, and this grooming score were calculated as the duration of grooming from individual A to individual B over the time A and B were in the same subgroup. And a second grooming score that we use in a different model, of course, was calculated using the duration of grooming from individual A to individual B over the time of the total observation time of individual A and B. This was done because these 2 measures could both be indicative of the time that individuals spend together and the decision that they made at the moment of fissioning or fusioning for a certain subgroup in which other individuals were present. The predictor variable were of course B2A grooming score, so the grooming in the other direction, and this, in order to perform a within subject analysis, this predictor was centered within subject. And as control variables, I added kinship and between individual A and B, the sex of the receiver, and the average of A to B grooming score, in order, of course, to perform our within subject analysis. And in order to exclude the effects of pattern control reciprocity, so the one that occurs over a short time frame, all the grooming events or grooming interaction, if you want, that fell in the reciprocation time window that was measured with the previous analysis that I showed, were excused from the model. And additionally, the same model was applied only considering male-male diets because of a previous article showing that there is some grooming reciprocity between males in adult spider monkeys and subadult spider monkeys. Now the results. So I found evidence for a short time frame grooming reciprocity, and the time frame of immediate reciprocation was 6 minutes and 50 seconds. The log rank trace was significant, and this means that after receiving grooming from individual A, there is a higher likelihood of reciprocating the grooming received to the same individual before 6 minutes and 50 seconds after having received it. And instead, I didn't find any evidence for a long time frame grooming reciprocity in all diets using both dependent variable that use grooming score calculated in different ways. And similar results were obtained when I only considered male-male diets, both adult and subadults. So the conclusion that I came to, that partner control grooming reciprocity occurs in Ateles Geoffroy, and giving grooming to a partner had a significant effect on receiving grooming from the same individual in the subsequent minutes, around 7 minutes after having given the grooming to a partner. And the result is in contrast with the previous experimental study on spider monkeys, but that study was done in a captive setting and in an experimental setting, and was considered food exchanges of food, which is not a naturally occurring behavior in spider monkey, and instead grooming is, although the frequency is not that high compared to old world monkeys and apes. Individuals may prefer to engage in immediate reciprocation, as it is not possible for the individuals to know when they can interact again with the same partner due to the high degree of fission-fusion dynamics that characterize Geoffroy spider monkeys. And instead, partner choice grooming reciprocity appears to be absent in Ateles Geoffroy, and this result contrasts with previous findings on grooming reciprocity in male spider monkeys. And this difference may be caused by a difference data analysis method that were used by me and by Schaffner et al. In 2012. And Ateles Geoffroy's social organization may present a challenge in recognizing social relationships that are shared by individuals, and therefore the partner choice, so the reciprocity that is based on the other individual, on the partner, may be hampered to a high degree of fission-fusion dynamics. And additionally, low rates of grooming interaction may have hampered the detection of partner choice reciprocity. And thanks for your attention, and thanks to all the people involved in the project, and to the funders of my PhD and also my PhD project.
Thank you, Fabrizio, for this really interesting talk. So like, while waiting for, we already have actually some question on the chat and some comments. Like we first have so like Lucy de Cellier, who is asking, first we're saying thank you very much, and who is asking if you observed reciprocity between female or male-female.
Yeah, that's the point. Thank you for the question. Basically, females don't really groom that much in spider monkeys. So the vast majority of grooming interaction that I observed between females were between mother and daughter, because there was one individual that didn't leave the group when she reached sexual maturity, but she stayed in the natal group. And there is actually grooming interaction between males and females. A lot of time is between mother and son, a lot of times. but you also see other grooming interaction between non-related individuals. And yeah, that's all. So that's the thing. And the reason why I focus mainly on male grooming interaction is because there was already a paper published on it. So we wanted to check if that results were confirmed by my study, and because they grew more, so there is more data that I can work on.
Okay. So like waiting for other question. I have one, but I mean, I guess that you kind of already replied to this in your conclusion, but I just want to be sure that I understood. So it does not exist any, let's say, competition over the grooming. Like, let's say that there will be a best groomer of the group, let's say, and that you have some individual that enter in competition to get groomed for this individual.
I wouldn't call competition. I wouldn't call it competition, not that much. There are individual differences, of course. This female that I was talking about, she's called Lola. She's still alive. She's a female that didn't leave the group when she reached sexual maturity, and she was by far not the best groomer, because I mean, one problem of spider monkeys is that they only have 4 fingers, so they're not really good at grooming. But she was by far the most groomer of the entire group that I observed. But she was peculiar, like she was unique in that. And I didn't see like individuals going to her to ask for grooming more than they ask grooming from other individuals.
Okay. So like we have Abby George who is asking, I mean, first we're saying that it was a great talk, and with asking, do we know if grooming is used in the same behavioral context across different species? Is it mostly limited to male dyads in other species?
As far as I know, no. Like it can be used actually. There is a lot of grooming interaction towards females when they have a baby, and of course, I also in my PhD thesis, not in this particular part, but I also investigated if there was a time contingency between grooming and infant handling towards mother who had like recently had a baby, and I didn't find any of it, but there was already a previous study that didn't find any biological market between grooming and infant handling. So the function of grooming in spider monkeys, I would say that it's the same as other primates. Of course, it's used for cleaning the fur, and also it's relaxing for both the individual who's doing it and the one who's receiving it. But by their hand morphology is limiting, I think, the effectiveness of grooming. And so it's not used as, for example, like a political tool, let's call it. Like, for example, it could happen in baboons or chimpanzees or other old world primates.
So it will never be used as something to calm down a conflict, for instance.
I wouldn't say so, but that's the problem with spider monkeys. You don't see, because of the fission-fusion dynamics, you don't really see a lot of conflicts. And if there is a tense situation, they usually fission, so they split up in different subgroups, so they avoid each other, let's say, in a simple term. So you don't really, as far as I know, you don't really see grooming after aggressions or fights in spider monkeys, not like other primates, where in chimpanzees you see a lot of conciliation, for example.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. And so actually we just received on the chat also AB will say thank you for your answer, and just making a comment saying that it's a lot of scope for comparative work. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like we are ending this talk, and I invite everyone, like if you have further question to ask Fabrizio this question on Discord. I'm sure he will be glad to reply to them. So thank you, Fabrizio.
Thank you for
really
having
a nice
me.
talk. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. So